Hello and welcome to my channel where we discuss the Power Platform. Today's episode is a recurring kind of monthly video I've been putting out for a number of months now. So this is the April 2021 Power Apps update. You can come on this video to really just see what's been happening in the Power Apps space. I gather my various bits of information from the Power Apps blog, from the Power Apps release plan, and from the Power Apps community call, which it's just great because we get speakers that come on there, and I always learn something new. So this is me kind of not necessarily giving the entire presentation again, but telling you about important stuff and definitely linking those bits below. So to start off with, let's have a look at the Power Apps blog. So there are quite a few features actually on the blog. So I've only picked about kind of 6 to highlight here. So the first one here is this print function that's recently come into availability. I'm going to link my video that I did on that below, but essentially it's the ability for app users to print content or PDF, etc. And there's also kind of additional functionality on how to hide and show things on the screen as well, which is very useful. We've got search quick actions, which I'm just going to show over here. And essentially what this is that in a model-driven application, you have this quick actions toolbar. Now, one of the features that has actually been built now is that you can hide and show what actually appears on this ribbon, which is pretty cool. So you can essentially kind of use this to actually do this, which is pretty amazing. The third one here is the mixed reality components in general availability now. So they've been in preview for a number of months. I'm also going to link my video below as well, which kind of runs you through the different features that are available. So do check that out. You've then got the COE starter kit, which is now available in Teams. So it's actually it's quite cool. So when you do download the COE starter kit, which, if you don't know, gives you kind of various metrics about usage and performance and a whole range of topics, it actually kind of appears in Teams now. So you can look at the admin, governance, and nurture templates. And this can be a core part of the collaboration with admins, makers, and end users. The fifth one there I am massively excited about. I haven't actually had a chance to test it out, but I've talked to people that have, which is the environment data source environment variables. So quite typically what you would do is add in like a SharePoint list, for example, and it would come in just by itself. Now what you can do is actually add this as a variable instead, which means that as you go through from, say, dev, QA or test to production, you can actually select the connection reference as your variable and actually set that in your solution, which is amazing. So you can actually, move your apps between these environments and pick the variable and actually specify what the variable is. And that will mean as it goes through, you don't have to do the connections again. Which is a game changer, really, especially with SharePoint as a backend in particular, because it's not as easy to kind of switch those connections. Up until now, it would have had to be quite a manual process. And the great thing is it's also available in Flow, which is amazing. And then we've got this last one here, which is some updates to the Azure file storage and Excel online business connectors. So I've also got that open here. So there's essentially it's the same. So it hasn't the actual connector hasn't changed, but the blob designation has been removed from here. You can also now invoke actions in the Azure file storage connector directly in Power Apps. That's a plus. The Excel connector is robust, allows for multiple users, and is faster as well. And the connector is available when you add a data source in the data pane in Power Apps. Yet it is not currently yet available for when you use the app from data experience. So something to note there, and it won't affect any existing connections, which is good. So those are the Power Apps blog updates. What's new and planned for Power Apps? So I'm not going to go through these in detail, but what is worth knowing is that all of the features on the screen have made it to general availability in April 2021. So a few of those have already been discussed in the blog section I just did. But do check those out, as it is a month in which a lot of these different areas have gone to general release. Moving on to the Power Apps community call. So we had Hardit Bhatia who presented on them, and he talked about how to essentially save data and continue using an application in Teams. So you might start an application in Teams and then go ahead and someone pops up on messages and you kind of navigate away from it, and then you've closed down your app because you've navigated away from it, and now you go back on the app and you've lost all your data. So he presented a solution, very, very concise, and I'll be linking that in the app below, in the messages below as well. But in general, what he's talked about here is using the save data and load data, which, for those of you that don't know, is the feature that we use when we do offline apps. So using that to actually mimic the Power Apps for Teams, which is pretty cool. So there are some limitations on that in terms of storage. So on the desktop, you can only save 1 megabyte of data. On the mobile, it's 70 megabytes. I think about kind of images and stuff when you do that as well. And he gave it a tip here about storing GUIDs versus the entire record, especially if there's image or field column. So the real takeaway here is use the offline features on Teams and it will work, which is great. And then we had a whole heap of presenters here. So Hugo, Matthew, April, Geetha, Hero, and Anton. I did present about this or kind of relay this information in a previous session as well. I think it was last month, so the March update as well, which is all about custom functions. So this is now something you can contribute towards yourself. So there's a few tips on how to do that. Custom functions are essentially functions that don't already exist in Power Apps that you've coded yourself. So for example, if you have a year to date or a particular way of formatting a date, then instead of having to recreate it each time, you could just use this. So this is how you contribute. April's video is available as well. And you've also got GitHub where you can look at the various ones that are available as well. And then we had Rory Neary, who presented on the gestalt design principles. This is something I think I've heard about in the past, so it's quite interesting. Yeah, definitely in the Power Apps context. So on the right-hand side is a snapshot from what Rory presented, and I was trying to think about, how does this relate into Power App? And on the left-hand side, I've said, well, use familiar icons, right? In the gestalt principles, this relates to the past experience. Use consistent themes across pages. In the gestalt principles, this relates to continuity. Utilize components. So in Power Apps, we can create components so they're reusable. And that, again, relates to past experience. Color schemes, where you place objects, size of objects. On the right-hand side, you can see common region, relative importance of objects. So all of that, it's kind of putting a science behind the UX that we do. And lastly here, we've got the new stuff here. So GitHub again, recurring from last month as well, the custom functions. There is actually a Power Platform Learn course you can take on Gestalt principles. So do check that out. And the Power Apps demo extravaganza, of course, is something you can all be a part of. And essentially it's a competition for the best demo. And that is part of the Power Apps community call. So that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to my video. I hope you like that. Do let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see. And thank you for coming to my channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe because it makes me happy. Thanks so much.